Welcome to the Black Era Podcast, bonus content. Of course, this is a final special. We have two of our guests here from a podcast that hasn't been named yet. Under the Black Era umbrella, and we have our special guest, Dana Barros, joining us. How you doing today, Dana?
I'm good, fellas. What's Gucci? Appreciate you having me on again, man. Looking forward to it.
Most definitely.
Not a problem. So, fellas, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Dana Barros, 14-year veteran, played in the NBA 14 years. Seattle, Philly, Boston, Detroit. Retired 03. Run Dana Barros Basketball Club right now. I got a 5-court facility. We doing like 40 AAU teams and year-round. That's where I'm at right now.
All right, Sly.
Yeah, you already know Sylvester in this thing. Been a long time basketball fan, NBA fan. Had aspirations of going to the NBA. Didn't work out that way, but always tried to stay around basketball. So that's where we at.
All right, Trey.
Trey Scott, DBS cap. Kind of like Sly said, I play a little ball, but I'm definitely a lifelong fan. Really looking forward to spending some more time just around basketball. And I'm just excited for our guest today.
All right, and of course, Peace Gordy can't play a lick of basketball, but I'm a big fan. I wanted to start it off with, of course, some of the action in the bubble. Starting off with the game from a night ago, Game 3. We had the Lakers versus the Heat. Jimmy Butler had a pretty big game. They also started off pretty early, getting the lead in. What are some of you fellas' thoughts? Start with Dana.
I mean, I figured it would be 4-1. That was my prediction. But, I mean, I didn't know Adebayo and Gordy wouldn't be playing. You know what I'm saying? I thought that was with them playing. So, last night, to me, was a big win. It puts a little pressure on the Lakers. And in Miami didn't particularly show well. Jimmy Butler just took the game over. In every aspect, I thought he got those guys good shots when he needed to. And when he got to the free throw line, that's what he does best. But again, I was a little surprised at that win last night. And back, Lakers going to have to handle their business right out the gate. Should be smash down next game.
Okay. Trey?
I mean, I was impressed. I'm interested to see where you guys feel Jimmy Butler falls in the pecking order of at his position, if it's the 2 or the 3. But I mean, he showed up and showed out. I'm always interested to see, like, when alphas meet, like, how do they interact and what happens? You know what I'm saying? Like, Russell Westbrook, one of my favorite players, and he like one of the alpha among alphas, but sometimes he don't back down, but sometimes, like with Dame, he kind of get put in his place. And I kind of feel like, I mean, LeBron didn't get put in his place, but like, it was just alphas and alpha. It was like, two top dogs really barking at each other throughout the game. And it was impressive. I was impressed.
Yeah, how Braun gonna, and that's gonna be interesting. Is he gonna take him right out the gate? Because he takes him in the fourth quarter, but after getting the 40 piece, is he gonna take him right out the gate in the first quarter? You know what I mean? That's what the great ones do. I expect him to do that. And he needs to do that.
I think he feels he's in a position where he can kind of go on cruise control, because his cruise control is different from any other player's cruise control. You know what I mean? He can do a 28, 8-9 game, and it'd be considered a bad game if they lose. You know what I mean? And then he got help from AD. So it just depends on how the first quarter looked. If I see him in the first quarter put up like 12, then I know he's probably going to really take control. But if he just is dumping off and letting everybody else eat, he might be on that cruise control level.
Facts.
I mean, I'm looking at this is like this is where legends is made. Like, I'm excited. I mean, some people, I'm not a LeBron stan. I'm not really, I mean, I'm a fan, but I'm not, like, he's not one of my favorites. But this is where your name is made. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's good that Jimmy went at him and did what he did. Like that, your competition only shows who you are. You know what I'm saying? When somebody rises to that occasion and then you shut them down, you shut them down. You know what I'm saying? But if you can't shut them down, then it's a different conversation.
Absolutely.
What you think, Sly?
I mean, with game 3, Jimmy Butler did what he was supposed to do, but the biggest difference maker in that whole game was a guy coming off the bench that didn't even play in the first 2 games, Kelly Olynyk, being able to scratch the floor and get him different looks versus having Bam Adebayo on the floor. So, I mean, if you looked at the end of game 2 and you seen how easily Kelly Olynyk was scoring, even during the blowout, I seen this. I'm like, well, if they play him game 3, it's going to be tight because him being on the floor opened up the lane for Jimmy Butler to be able to go get 40. Jimmy Butler, 40 points came from mid-range and the free throw line. So the way I see it, game 4 is it's over with. They didn't. They planning for Kelly Olynyk right now. He not about to have 17 points again.
Yeah, I
He
heard
might not even have 10.
I heard he was the first player to have a 40-point triple-double without a three-pointer since Jerry West.
Right.
Yeah.
Jerry West did it in the Hawks.
I mean, Jimmy Butler is a mid-range guy. He barely shoot threes. So, that's expected.
And the fact that you're 100% right, Sly. And the fact that takes Dwight Howard out the game, which
exactly
defender at the rim, which he was dominated in the first 2 games at some points in the game. So now he's got to chase. If he is in the game, he's got to chase Kelly O out, and if Kelly O knocks down a couple, then the Lakers are going to have to go small, and AD's going to have to go to the 5, which changes the lane openings for Jimmy Butler. So that was absolutely 100% facts. With Dwight Howard, his minutes were nullified a lot in that game 3 because of KO.
Yep. And Kelly Olynyk been doing that since the Celtics days, just standing there catching and knocking it down. And it's like when I seen that at the end of game 2, it just showed me how game 3 would go. Now I didn't expect AD to get in foul trouble early and just to be like disappeared. And it's funny because this AD having such a bad game really didn't just opened up the lane for LeBron to win Finals MVP as well.
Because I heard the usage was big.
AD was on his way to get it. But having a bad game like he had in game 3, and LeBron still dropped 25 and almost had a triple-double. So it's kind of like this go along with how the NBA storylines be going.
And his usage was good because he had no turnovers with holding the ball. I think it was over 300 times or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
With that type of usage, it's something that's overlooked. I remember seeing a story about Dennis Rodman having the best usage in the series against the Sonics, but Jordan still won the MVP. So you think they'll look over AD's good play because of that one game?
I think LeBron's go ahead.
I mean, before that game, AD was averaging 30. And then he just had a 15-point game, so that's going to hurt his averages. And, I mean, your averages in the finals go a lot into who win finals MVP. So, I mean, if LeBron is teetering, averaging a triple-double, and AD averaging a double-double, but he didn't drop below 30, that's going to hurt.
And I think LeBron, listen, we're talking about his legacy. So, in my opinion, him winning the 4th title without the MVP doesn't really enhance his legacy. It doesn't hurt it.
Not at all.
Title, but if he don't win the MVP, I mean, all the skeptics out there, that's just not going to be the same thing as him coming out saying, okay, we in game 4. This is do or die right here. I'm going to come out. I'm going to drop the hammer. I'm going to give him 40, 20, and 10. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
That's what Big does. That's what Kobe does. If you want to be in that conversation, bro, like there's no AD winning the MVP. At this point, you got to take the series over right now for your legacy. If you want to be compensated, correctly for that 4th title, in my opinion, because bro, the skeptics is already out. If you don't win an MVP, don't even come to the forefront with that. Like this is legit. I mean, it's legit, but it's skeptics ain't gonna want to hear that, man.
Right?
It's great. He is. It's not gonna matter.
So seeing the outcome of Game 3, Trey, who's going to make the most adjustments for Game 4?
I mean, it's got to be LA. I mean, that's kind of. I mean, they gotta. I mean, they you guys kind of put it on the floor. They gotta find the answer for Olynyk. Obviously, Jimmy, they gotta find a way to kind of keep him, because see, Jimmy, a lot of times he come out passive, and they gotta. That's what they need. You know what I'm saying? Like Jimmy, for Miami to win, he got to come out on go mode. He got to play make, but at the same time, he got to make sure that they know he's a option to score. He can't be out there looking like he's just trying to get everybody else involved and kind of lead. He got to be that dog, you know what I'm saying? But on the offensive end, not just all around. So they got to slow that down early on. Early on, they got to keep, they got to try to have him play one of the LeBron games where he tried to turn it on at the end. Because at that point, I mean, he may have the energy, but with LeBron frame banging on him all day, it might not be there for him. So I feel like, and like they said, Dwight, being able to stay out of foul trouble, being able to stay on the floor, the game to change so much, the big man, it's hard for them to stay out there. If you can't shoot, you may not be able to find a home. You know what I'm saying? We done seen defensive player of the years not get on the floor in the playoffs. So it's tough, with them stretch bigs. So I look at it as LA got to find a way, and they got to figure that out.
All right. Slap.
The way I see it, the adjustments that I see that's probably most likely gonna happen is I don't expect AD to get in foul trouble again, like the way he did in the last game. And I suspect that we may see JaVale McGee next game again because I feel like he better as far as checking stretch 4s or 5s on the perimeter compared to Dwight Howard. So the adjustments that I see is not really gonna come from like AD and LeBron. It gotta come from the role players. See, like everybody made a big deal about LeBron walking off the floor with 10 seconds. And to me, that was him sending the message to them role players. Danny Green and KCP, y'all can't have them type of games. Cause that Danny Green went 0 for 6. And his only 2 points came from the free throw line. You cannot have that from a starter in the finals. KCP as well, he had a bad game. When those two players is clicking, the Lakers is damn near unbeatable. So that's the message that I seen that LeBron sent to them by walking off the floor. AD gonna do what he's supposed to do. We all know that LeBron, like when he got that laser focus, it's pretty much he going for a kill. So I mean, the adjustments that need to be made is I see JaVale McGee need to get some time, and Danny Green and KCP need to find a jumper again.
Dana.
Definitely, man. They're gonna have to make some adjustments. The Lakers in terms of going a little smaller. And I think JaVale McGee is definitely an option. Moving AD to the 5 and bringing Kuzma or someone else. Rondo. I don't know what the adjustment will be, but they're gonna have to go a little smaller, and they're gonna have to keep Jimmy Butler off the free throw line. He's the master getting to the free throw line. He took like 16, 18 free throws. You're gonna have to make him finish at the basket over you without fouling him. And that's the key, because he doesn't take a large amount of shots. I mean, he's getting 40 points and taking 18 shots, but he's getting 18 free throws. So you're going to have to stop getting in the penalty earlier in the quarters, and you're going to have to make him finish over you without fouling. Because if he goes to the foul line 16, 18 times again, he's going to get 30 points. And if the shooters make a shot this game, because Robinson was off and Hero was off. So, I think, again, Lakers going to have to make some minor adjustments, but Braun is going to have to set the tone immediately, man, when the game starts.
Since we're on Jimmy Butler, great game that he had. We went past with him being in Chicago, them being in the playoffs last time with Jimmy Butler, Minnesota, Philadelphia. What does this game or this series do for his legacy?
I think he's pretty much, even if he levels off and plays at a 20-point-a-game clip, I think he's already established himself as, and if he continues into next season, as into the bottom of that upper echelon. I mean, what he's done throughout the playoffs, carrying his team with these players, you know, hitting the big shots in the fourth quarter, even in the Philly series, going back to the first round. You know what I mean? So I think he's pushed himself up somewhat, and if he continues next year, I think he'll definitely move up into the upper echelon with the Kawhi. I mean, if Paul George is up there, damn, he gotta be up there. The way PG playing in the playoffs, I mean, keep it a buck, man.
Yeah, I think the Clippers would rather have Butler right now than to have Paul George.
For sure.
Pleasure Peak is none of my respect.
Yeah, it's bad for him.
That's his name from now on, Pleasure Peak.
No, I definitely feel like you said, he took a step up. Kawhi definitely took a step up last year, in my eyes, leading the team to a championship. And Jimmy is doing the same thing. Like, I think Kawhi kind of left him in the dust when they kind of first came in the league. I think Kawhi came up first, but they were the two-way defenders that could really kind of play. And they both progressed and they took huge strides. And I think this is Jimmy's time. So, like he said, this will put him right up there with the bottom half. Obviously, he's not gonna ever be on Bron level or KD. He's not no freak of nature or nothing. But just with his leadership and the way he affects winning, like, to me, I put that more on. I put more emphasis on winning and doing stuff the right way than just getting stats. You know what I'm saying? You can average 25 points on a losing team and have a great career. You know what I'm saying? But how do you affect winning? How do you really? And a lot of people say, like, assists make people, oh, he's making his team better. Like, Jimmy Butler make that team better. You know what I'm saying? Whether he averaged 5 assists or 10 assists, that team is a lot better because of his leadership and the way he played the game.
All right, Dana?
Yeah, I look at it it's like a Chris Paul situation. If he can score 18 points and dominate the game, man. You know what I mean? Like, he could score 12 points and hit the last 4 shots of the game, and 8 of the 12 points is in the last 5 minutes. He's like a Chris Paul who can change the game in ways that you can't really, the average fan doesn't really understand. You know what I mean? And he sets the tempo right out the gate. When they were playing this up, I'm like, damn, they stay uber aggressive, bro. Like, and he set the tone, and that comes from him. Duncan Robinson and Hero and them didn't have that. That's from Adebayo, and that's from him, and that's Pat Riley and them. So he's a match for Pat Riley, man, and he sets the tone in the locker room and on the floor, and that's immeasurable. You can't measure all those intangibles that he brings to the table.
It's a lot of things that you don't see on the stat sheet that makes a big difference. One of the things that made me think of that, I was on Twitter and people were kind of comparing, which I thought was not comparable, Dirk's championship to if AD would win the championship with the Lakers. And I said, my thing is it's more comparable to KG being with Minnesota for so long and then going to Boston with the team. So what does this series do for AD's legacy?
I mean, me and a bunch of my guys was just having this conversation about, like, who is a better player between Anthony Davis and Kevin Garnett. And I was saying, like, it's still, like, kind of too early, but I would have to say that at the end of their career, regardless of accomplishments, I would have to say that Anthony Davis, to me, would end up being a better player because of skill set alone. Like, they both could play on a perimeter, but AD on a perimeter is far more skilled than a Kevin Garnett. And I feel like they had the same career path. Kevin Garnett was in Minnesota all them years, barely able to get out the first round. Only difference is AD didn't win the MVP with the Pelicans before he went to the Lakers. The way that Kevin Garnett won his MVP with Minnesota before he went to the Celtics. So, I mean, their careers is like mirrors of each other if you really look at it, because if AD win his first ring this year with a new team, that would be the same as Kevin Garnett, even though AD would be younger when he got it. But, I mean, what this would do for AD to me is, like, I really think that we really seeing, like, the passing of the torch from LeBron to AD as far as being the best player on their team, and as far as AD possibly being able to be the best player in the league.
Would you compare it to, like, Magic coming in and getting the torch from Kareem?
It's similar, but no. because Magic got drafted there.
Right.
So,
and he took that tour pretty early. I would like to hear what Dana thinks. What do you see him and KG stacking up? You a Boston guy, Kane.
Great analogy, man. A great analogy because KG was really the innovator to all this 4 or 5 man on the perimeter ish, man. Like when he came in the league, it was like, whoa, this dude is 7'2". He's getting the rebound. You know, Barkley did it at some point, but you're talking about a 7-foot guy out on the perimeter that can post. You know, it's a matchup nightmare. You put a little guy on him, he takes him inside and beats him. You put a big guy on him, he can handle the ball, shoot the three. So that's a great comparison between those two. Exactly. And AD, in my opinion, definitely like LeBron, he has to win this title. You know what I mean? Being that Miami is the 5th seed, not having to go through the Clippers, not having to have that classic matchup with the Clippers and the Lakers and AD and put PG, and LeBron, I think him as well as LeBron have to win this title. You know what I mean? And I think he'll just snowball. I think his legacy will snowball from there. But he's got to get this title this year, and I think he will. I'm not saying that he won't. I just think he will. But, this brings a different swag, man, when you get that title. And I think he'll feel after this point, whether LeBron want to pass it to me or not, it's my joint. You know what I mean? If I'm him, it's my joint. He can say what he wants to say, but I got the ring and I'm the young blood and it's my joint. So yeah, he's in the same boat as AD. He got to win as LeBron. He got to win this title, man. He got to win this title and he got to be impressive in winning it. So it's not a piggyback thing either way,
Right.
I can't say he better than KG though. I can't. I mean, he got talent, but he didn't affect winning. You know what I'm saying? Until he got with arguably the best player, on the planet. So, but yeah, I mean, if he wins the title, it's always gonna be. But you won it with LeBron. You know what I'm saying? So, and no matter what he do, even if he win Finals MVP, it's gonna be more of a notch against LeBron than a notch for him, just because of LeBron and the shadow he brings. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, he was impressive. He's been impressive throughout these series. I mean, he had a tough game though. Can't have too many more of those and keep being compared to KG. And obviously KG did struggle early on in his career, but I think he got further in the playoffs with Minnesota. And you know what I mean? I don't think AD affects winning the way KD does, or was just a defensive presence the way he is defensive leader on that back end. But yeah, I mean, it's exciting. How old is AD? Do y'all know?
He's like 27. I think
he's a little younger than that.
Yeah, he probably like 24, 25.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Played 1 year in college, man,
Yeah, I see it's so much young talent out there now. Like it's a lot of, just unicorns. It's a lot of freaking nature. So I don't know if he's gonna ever take that number 1 spot, but I mean, he could.
I think what he's gonna have to do to solidify his legacy, if he wants to be, in the KG better than KG categories, he's gonna have to not only win this title, but he's gonna have to carry LeBron to another title or two. In terms of as LeBron fades out into that twilight era, he's gonna have to say, okay, now I'm the 35 and you're the 22 in the game. You know what I mean? If he can do that, he can solidify himself with the skill set. You know what I'm saying? So I agree. I think he's a carbon copy of KG. KG's T1, he's T2. He got a little more tricks in the game. You know what I'm saying? And I agree. If he can carry LeBron, or if LeBron leaves or he leaves and he goes and do something else, he can definitely solidify the skill set along with the legacy. You know what I'm saying?
How big would winning the MVP this year help with that?
I think it'll put him in a position where he solidified himself, because again, playing the game, the swag that you get from that is just immeasurable. You know what I mean? Not only that, but winning the MVP as well. And I think him understanding that as well as LeBron plays, I'm not sure they can win it with AD getting 10, 12 points. You know what I'm saying? Like without Dwight Howard, he's going to have to solidify the middle as well. He's going to have to get 10, 12 rebounds a game. So I think for LeBron and AD, man, there's a lot riding on this. You talking about Miami, who isn't even supposed to be out the first round, B. Like, as well as they played, erase that. Okay, people ain't gonna remember what they did in the first set. They're gonna say, yo, the Miami Heat with Duncan Robinson and Gordy, like that's what's gonna happen. You have to win. Like you can't go to Game 7, B. Like you can't. Like you're gonna have to put the hammer tomorrow. Like, and if it's a close game tomorrow, that's even gonna be people gonna even be on that. B. Like I'm just telling you, like, when you talking Jordan, Kobe, man, you can't be kinda in that, man.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah, they always say Jordan never played a Game 7.
Never.
Finals, yeah. So I want to go hypothetical with this. No COVID, no bubble. Who is in the finals in June?
I'm going Lakers, and I'm still coming out of the East. No bubble, no
shutdown.
I'm still gonna have to say Milwaukee maybe would have got there without this shutdown in the bubble. I think Milwaukee would have still been able to pull it out because a lot of people want to criticize this whole situation, but this tough being in an isolated situation, just the whole thing. So I think Milwaukee maybe would have been able to still get to the finals.
I think you touched on it before, Dana, about the difference in atmosphere playing, of course, from college to pros. In this atmosphere, it made a lot of difference with, of course, who's going to the games amped up, who's going in with a kind of a different regiment. Who do you think would have been in if it wasn't any bubble, no COVID, no shutdown?
I agree. I still think it would have been Lakers and Milwaukee. I think the Celtics I think it would have been Game 7, and I think it would have been in Milwaukee, and it would have been a tough game. I would have called a game, but I'll give it to Milwaukee. Just say, okay, because I think even worse than I thought in the beginning that how the home court advantage affects you, man. You know what I mean? And I say the Lakers beating the Clippers because after watching Paul George, I got to say, bro, like serious, like I'm just like I'm like, man, I'm so disappointed, man. You know what I mean in terms of that. So I just think that it would have been Lakers, probably Milwaukee, and people don't understand the home court advantage, man. The Boston Garden is man. I don't think you understand what the atmosphere would be in a Game 5 or a Game 6 playing there. You know what I mean? It makes such a difference, man. And this definitely something that they going back to AAU days, man. And no one's used to this, you know, no one. And the 5-month layoff, man. Everybody wasn't in shape. You're 22 years old. You look like you're in shape, but you ain't in shape. Right. You know what I mean? That's not. It's not. Everybody's not at full speed, but everybody's equal in the bubble. But nah, man. Everybody wasn't in great shape. So yeah, that was a big factor as well.
Okay, Trey.
I agree. I hate to hop on the bandwagon, but yeah, I think it would have been Milwaukee. And I think the bubble played a huge role. I mean, we saw a lot of young players really get in their groove, like kind of like you said, it's like it was AAU days. It was like really their parents was the only ones in the stands. Like the pressure was lifted a little bit, I feel. And then those home court advantages kind of went away. So it changed kind of the trajectory of a lot of people and a lot of their games. And also Milwaukee looked kind of rusty, you know what I'm saying? Middleton looked like he wasn't properly prepared, you know what I mean, to for that load, you know what I mean? And for them to just be thrust in that situation, it was kind of unfair, but you know, it is what it is.
Now, seeing that a lot of people weren't in shape, do you think that affected Paul George?
I'm sure it did. Because this wasn't just this was the Dallas series. This was the first round. This was the Denver series. It was like a roller coaster. It would have 3 bad games, 1 good game. They would say, okay, he's starting to get it back, 2 bad games, you know? So, look, man, he consistently played well during the season. So I would have to think that it had something to do with the layoff. There couldn't be any injuries. Everybody was healthy. All the shoulder surgeries, the knee issues, all the excuses from last year, there was none of that. So you have to attribute it to he wasn't prepared to play. You know what I mean? Like, or unless that's just playoff B now. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
it's a couple of years with this B. It ain't like, it ain't like we bringing it up. So either that's who he is in those moments, or he just wasn't prepared.
And that leads me to my next question. Do you think that Doc Rivers deserved to get fired after a 5-month layoff bubble situation and getting eliminated?
To be honest, bro, a lot of people didn't believe what I said when I said this, but I truly in my soul believe that Denver had a true chance at beating them just off the way that their team was put together. Just off the way that their team was strictly put together. I mean, I seen it happen before it happened. A big man that can initiate the offense from the rebound, like getting a rebound, starting to break, set the whole offense up. I've only seen one person like that in my whole entire life, and they didn't make it to the NBA. And it was all they fought that they didn't make it to the NBA. You see what I'm saying? Like, Jokic is different. And I knew that Montrezl Harrell couldn't contain that. They beat the Clippers running the same play every game that they won, a high pick and roll. The Clippers didn't have no answer for it, no matter who they put in the game. So, and that, it wasn't really so much Jamal Murray, even though he was going out of his mind scoring. It was Jokic the whole time, setting the offense up and being able to dominate Montrezl Harrell from the high pick and roll.
I mean, I look at it like, I definitely wouldn't say he deserved to get fired, but at the end of the day, the blame got to fall on somebody. And I think it was about leadership with them. Like, who was the voice? You know what I'm saying? Montrez was getting into it with Project P. You know what I'm saying? Like, they, I mean, it's, he was throwing all them bricks up. But I don't know what you got us. Doc should have controlled the locker room. And then a lot of times when you're looking at these games, the coaches from game to game, they make so many drastic changes and they, it works or it changes the trajectory of the games. But I mean, I look at it as if Paul was their leader, his mental toughness was questioned because of, how much he was going through or whatever. So that wasn't really working. And I mean, what else was they going to do? They can't get rid of the stars, so they had to do something. So just is what it is. He fell on the nice. I mean, he landed pretty nice.
Word. I mean, a lot of times, listen, I had 11 coaches in 14 years, man. And a lot of times none of the coaches, I say, don't deserve to get fired. But it's because they're either not controlling the locker room or the players just aren't living up to par. So if I'm an NBA player and I have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, if they go to Steve Ballmer and say, yo, man, we don't want Doc to go, whatever you thinking, then he's not gone. That's just the facts. Because here's the issue, because Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are free agents next summer. After this season is over, and the season's starting up in 2 months. So if they're not feeling Doc, they're gonna leave after next year. So in my opinion, there had to be some conversation with those two, and it had to be both of them was okay with it. You know what I mean? For them to do it, because they came here, verbally said they came here because of Doc Rivers. Them being able to both opt out next year, the owner has to talk to them and say, what's your feelings about the future? You have to. Because if you piss them off without talking to them right now, then both of them going to leave because they mad at the owner. So I just think it was a situation where they all got in a little room and they said, what y'all think, bro? Mm-hmm. It was like, nah, we ain't feeling it, or you got to do what you got to do. You paid $2 billion for the team. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not just real quick, I don't think Steve Ballmer is dumb enough to piss his superstars off, especially the way that he acquired the team.
Right.
No wiggle room.
All right, so I'm looking at the list of free agents, and what big moves do you think is going to be made before the season or before the trade deadline next year?
Well, I'll give you my opinion because I think it's going to be a lot different than normal because people don't understand that the salary cap is going to go down maybe $20-30 million because you lost all the China money in the beginning of the season with the issues with the Houston Rockets GM. You lost a couple of $1 billion from China. You lost all the TV revenue from the games. Well, not all of it, most of it. And you lost all the fan revenue, parking revenue, concession revenue. So what happens next year is they take all the revenue from this year and they calculate it into the cap. So you're down $800 million this year. That means the cap goes down. So you're not going to have those guys averaging 17, 18 points, getting 25 million next year. It's not going to happen. Teams aren't going to have the cap space. The main guys will be able to move and do whatever they need to do, you know, not those guys, but the middle to the road to the lower guys, those guys are going to be hurt by this pandemic and the salary cap drop next year. So I expect it to be a little stingy coming after the season, you know.
That's a good point.
Real good point. A lot of people don't even put that into account when it comes to the salary cap. Any moves that may surprise people next year that you see?
I mean, me personally, I think Paul George won't finish the season the Clipper next year. I really don't. I've always questioned his mental toughness his whole career because, I mean, a lot of people don't want to believe this, but when he was in Indiana, they actually had a real shot at beating Miami. But mentally, he collapsed. He fell apart.
He was a baby.
Bro, Jordan was a baby at some point. His
he ain't Mike, though.
Not to compare him to Jordan, but I mean, at the same time, like, LeBron James was in his situation, and he took his team all the way to the finals in his 4th year. You have to be mentally tough to accomplish that coming out of high school.
Yeah, in his 4th year, that would have been his rookie year if he went on 4 years.
Exactly. So, I mean, I just feel like Paul George won't be a Clipper because, especially the excuses that he made. Like, come on, bro. Everybody was in the bubble with you. So to say that the bubble got to you, like, stop it. You just came up short, and that was what it was. It was as well as Kawhi Leonard. Like, I don't take none of the blame off of him as well. He get majority of the blame because he was the leader.
Dana?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a W game, man, from a player standpoint to everyone. I don't know who's really big free agent this summer, but I just know it's going to be difficult for people to move around. You know, the economy's bad. You got to look at. I do consulting for the Celtics, so when I look at all the sponsorships that they had probably one of the best teams in the league in terms of getting sponsorships. Half of those sponsorships are gone. You know what I mean? But the economy the way it is, so I just don't look for teams to be spending so much money, and I look for it to be a really dry period, man. I look for a lot of players to be going back to their teams, and I look for a lot of teams to be using middle-class exemptions, man, and not really wasting that money this summer, not knowing what's really going to happen in the future, you know?
Right. So with all that to account, in the long run, how big of an effect this is going to have as far as the NBA goes?
Huge, man. I mean, ratings are down 40% right now, and everybody's home. You know what I mean? So, hopefully when the season starts back up, things may change, but it seems like the whole society's changed, bro. People's minds, things, and it's not the same old, man. People are on different paths. People have lost jobs. They're working trying to figure out different things, and sports just isn't at the forefront of a lot of issues right now, man. And it's kind of an ancillary thing that other people feel we should use as a springboard, not to even care about the damn sport, just while you there, do what you're supposed to do for the cause. You know what I'm saying? So it's a little, I'm a little scary about what's gonna happen going forward from each team from an organizational standpoint, man. Some cities may not come back to these teams, man. Milwaukee, I don't know. Who knows if Milwaukee's even gonna come back to the, what's going on in the city, man. They may not even come back to the games. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel bad for those small markets too.
Yeah.
That's real. The world has changed. Who knows, man? And like, I mean, it's all about the money, and they definitely taking a huge hit after another one, like you said, with the China situation. Like,
and another thing that we not taking into account as well is how is the league gonna be structured next year? Is they gonna have more bubbles? Is it gonna all stay where they at right now? So I mean, they got a lot to think about too.
Right.
But real quick, I mean, we got Dana Barros on I gotta ask. You know what I'm saying? This is a bucket getter right here. You know what I'm saying? This is a light-skinned king. This is a shit. Like, how does it feel to get 50? Like, how does
50? I mean, honestly, man, like,
what kind
I
of
had
zone?
game multiple times to remember. I didn't remember, man. You know what I mean? I had to watch the game and on the back of the VCR joints back. They gave me the tape that like the next day at practice, and I went home because it was like slow motion to me. I swear it was like I would just come down and it was just like dudes was all in my face, and I was just like, move, like, you know what I mean? Like, it was effortless, B. Like, that's the way I can explain it. It was effortless, man.
Just in that zone.
And I look back, and I really appreciate Kenny Smith shouting me out on TNT, man. Like that gave me like 1,500 followers on the gram after that. Kept love all day.
Were you really aiming for him though?
I mean, nah. What happened was we used to play them when I was in Seattle. We used to play them in the Western Conference playoffs all the time, like 3 straight years. And I was playing behind GP Gary Payton, so I would only get like 10 minutes, but for some reason, I would light him and Scotty Brooks up. Had like 8 points. You know what I mean? Big shots. It had 8 points, and they would take Kenny out the game and put Scotty or Sam Cassell in the game. So I knew at that point there was something like just so I just fed off that. So every time I seen him, I just would say, okay, I'm gonna come right out and see what it's gonna be today. And it just, I don't know. Like I said, you get your swag against when you get certain times, you just get that swag. And I had to, I got it against him. I don't know what it is, but yeah, it was there.
What would be funny if they invite you to TNT and then when he go to turn around and run to the screen, you just standing right there.
Yeah.
With a 50 ball like this.
Yeah. I also got to mention with the 50 game, you were only one of 3 guards to do that. Of course, Kyrie Irving did it earlier this year after the game he played after Kobe's tragedy, and also Michael Jordan. Guards to have 80%, 83% from the field, 50-pointer.
Yeah, and I got that. Somebody sent me that post, and I
did.
Back, I was like, "Yo, man, yeah." I was like, "Yo, can I get a picture, bro?" There, only 3 of us. You know what I mean? But we laughed about it, but it was all love. My followers got on his neck a little bit, and it was all love, though.
All right, so Game 4 coming up. I'm gonna start with Dana. Any predictions for Game 4?
I'm gonna say like I'm in the NBA locker room. And we would say right now, if we was going out for the warm up for Game 4, first 5 to 10 minutes, man, if you're Miami, is the most important part of the game because the Lakers are gonna come out and they're gonna try to establish themselves right out the gate, and Miami's gonna have to really hold their foot to the fire, be aggressive and be diligent, and not fall into the trap, man, and not get down 15, 20 points right out the gate. So the first quarter, especially the first 5 minutes, is going to be the melting point because LeBron is going to come out and try to lay it down.
All right, Trey.
I mean, I look at it as like I told Sly and a few people, like, I didn't think Jimmy, you know what I mean, could, you know, have the endurance. I mean, he got the mental toughness. I think he got the mental endurance, but just the physical endurance to grind against a monster like LeBron. But this is, I mean, Jimmy different. You know what I'm saying? Jimmy Butler has been different. Like, ever since Marquette, like, I've always looked, I'm like, this, you know what I mean? This is a fullback. I mean, this is a running back in a 2-guard, 3-guard body, you know what I'm saying? With the mentality of a dog. Like, he don't back down. So, and Tyler Hero, I've been a fan ever since his high school mixtapes. Like, he's always that white guy who got that swag and he got that chip on his shoulder and he met that perfect leader. You know what I'm saying? He got that guy who's going to push him towards that. So with Bam coming back, I don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, because Sly, like you said, you know, spacing the floor, even though Bam can shoot, he's not a 3-point shooter. I mean, I'm interested. I'm hoping to see Miami take another dub, just because, like I said, the deeper they get into this, the better it is for whoever win. You know what I mean? If Jimmy win, he establishing himself, you know, he taking a step, you know, up there. And if LeBron win, but it's a really good finals, obviously it does look bad. But if Jimmy playing out his mind, what can you say? So it's another guy, another 2-guard that was in Miami that had a hell of a finals, you know, a while back and you know, and took it home. So who knows? Maybe Miami gonna surprise some people.
I see Sly hawking up. What you think, Sly?
Oh man, because I mean, being honest, man, the series over. It was over before it started. Being real, the thing that I look at the most, especially being a fan of LeBron and knowing what type of player he is, that he mindful of the outside noise outside of that bubble. Like, he pay attention to the storylines. He pay attention to what is being said. And I already told my mans that this series is more personal for LeBron than it is to anything, based off of the comments that Pat Riley had to say when he left Miami. And it's just ironic that he playing Miami in the finals, because like y'all said, they ain't supposed to be there anyway. So I expect LeBron to come out with the attitude that he had with Denver after they won the game. It was all serious. It wasn't no smiles, no joking. He gonna have that same mentality that he had when he dropped 45 on the Celtics in the elimination game. Because being honest, Miami is not a team to play with, just like Denver wasn't. But LA just built different, dog. They got the GOAT.
Real quick, starting lineup for the Lakers. Are they starting Dwight?
I don't see them starting Dwight. I think that we may see, if not Kuzma, we may see Markieff Morris start.
Yep, that's a good call. Forgot about him. Yeah, he played well last game. He was one of the really only bright spots for them last game. So I see him starting probably, and he's got that mindset. He gonna try to take Kelly out the game mentally. You know what I mean? He gonna be up in his grill and try to get in his head mentally. You know, that's what he does. So I think that's a good call.
All right, well, we'll see.
Like,
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, Jay Crowder and Jimmy Butler, they like the Bash brothers. You feel me? They both went to Marquette. They both was, you know what I'm saying, not highly touted. You know what I'm saying, just tough dudes. Should have played football. So soon as whoever come at and you heard what Jimmy said. He said, "Don't mess with the shooters." You feel me? So soon as they come for him, they coming right back at him. So it's gonna be entertaining. But I think it's too much talent in LA. So it is what it is.
All right.
What does this do for the franchise after winning a title? What's this numbers? This is 16 for the Lakers?
17
for the Lakers. What does this do for the franchise?
So I think I'm pretty sure they tied the Celtics. Or they're still one behind. Maybe they're two behind now. I think the Celtics. But I'm pretty sure they tie him, man. Somebody can look it up real quick, but I'm pretty sure. So this is huge for the legacy, man. You know, maybe not in terms of right now, but in terms of G+, I guarantee you they're thinking about it. You know what I'm saying?
So, Sly, what does this do for the Lakers as a franchise?
I think it does a lot, especially you win a championship the same year that you lose Kobe. On top of how long it took them to get back to the finals, along with having LeBron James be the player to do it. I mean that's big. That you get championships out of two players that's arguably top three all time. So you know what I mean. That does a lot for just them as a franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they got 16 titles. This will be 17.
Yeah.
17.
Yeah.
And Boston has 17, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, this would tie them with Boston for NBA titles.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, this huge. I mean, and like you said, with Kobe and that his tragic passing, this will be special. Obviously, it's a bubble ring, so it's a little different. It's different circumstances. But
is that true? Is it less significant because it's in a bubble?
Maybe.
I mean,
maybe,
I'm just saying we all said it.
Yeah.
So, what would be more significant, the Spurs in the lockout season or the bubble ring?
Nobody remembers this. I mean, nobody remembers this. They just remember that Tim Duncan got 5 rings. They don't say, "Oh, he won one of those, man, in the lockout, man."
Good point. Good point.
We got short memories, bro. We got a 2-minute attention span.
But see, this the thing though. Only because it's LeBron will they remember that it was won in the bubble.
The haters.
There you go.
That's why I said he got to win MVP, because the haters is gonna be on his neck. They gonna be on
there.
His
You
neck.
go.
You said you think Mike LeBron better than Mike?
Who, me? No, I played against Mike, so I can't say that ever, man. I think LeBron is right behind him. I think he's more skilled. I think he has more in terms of skill, like in terms of size, strength, dribbling. I mean, his skill is off the charts. There's never been no one at his size that can do what he does. But again, I just think if you put down the intangibles, I just think Mike has a little bit more, man. I don't think they both had great teams or teammates. You know what I mean? In terms, I think they had a lot on their shoulders. I think he's off the court. He's a much better role model in terms of that. I think he does way more in terms of that. He's probably surpassed Mike if you put them both together. But just I'm biased, man. You know what I mean? I was there. Like, you know what I mean? I can't explain it.
So let me ask you this question, because you were there.
Mm-hmm.
If we put Mike up here, and it's just my opinion, I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like I started watching basketball probably in watching basketball and understanding it probably in 92 or 93. So if we put Mike up here, who would be close second during his era, like during his prime? Who would be close second to Michael Jordan?
In terms of skill, or just like because Shaq didn't have the skill, but he was just
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I wouldn't compare a guard to a big man. We're just talking about like just out of guards. Who was close second to Michael
Guards
Jordan?
Guards or wings, maybe.
Kobe.
You got to include wings, right?
Kobe. Well, yeah, guards and wings. I really couldn't say Kobe because it was only 2 years.
Oh, you mean while he was playing? We mean against him,
right?
Damn, I mean, it was a different game. See, it was mostly a big man game. So you had like 4 men, and you had some point guards, but they weren't scoring point guards. So he kind of changed the era himself, where it became the wing became the dominant player, because that's when now AI came and Kobe, and now it became the guards. It became, Stephon Marbury. You had all these unbelievable guards. So it was a different game, and guards couldn't play inside much. Like, dude, if I went inside and did a Steph Curry shimmy, I'll get straight clothesline, and next I'll be out 7 games with injury. I'll be in traction. So the game was different. You know what I mean? But I don't think there's much difference. Like, I can't, like, if someone said LeBron's better than Mike, I couldn't argue with him. I couldn't. You know what I mean? I couldn't argue with him. I just think it's just in terms of me being there, it's just probably a little biased, because I haven't played against LeBron. You know, I stand on the court and see how goddamn big and strong, and you know, like I'm like, oh damn, that's a different thing right there. You know, but I couldn't fault anyone for saying LeBron is better. I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? He's that talented, he's that great. You know,
Well, my reason for asking you that question is because I've always said that, like you said, the era that Michael Jordan played in was a big man era, and he played against a lot of undersized guards during his era. It wasn't a lot of guards that had the same skill set that he had at 6'6", because at 6'6" during that era, a lot of players were small forwards or power forwards.
But how many wings got the same skill set as LeBron James?
None.
That's what I'm saying. So it's the same thing. They one of ones, but I look at it like, I mean, Clyde Drexler was there, Penny Hardaway was there. Like he had some guys that
But
was
still, though, what I'm saying is like Michael Jordan up here, Clyde Drexler may have been right there. Penny Hardaway may have been right here. It was nobody close to Michael Jordan compared to whereas LeBron, you got LeBron here, KD may be right there. Under KD, Giannis may be right here. Like, so I asked that question based trying to see like where would you gauge the talent in the NBA back then compared to now?
The talent is off the charts now, like off the charts now, like way, way better now. But the game, like the game was so like you couldn't hand check. Like, you know what I mean? Like back then, I could put two hands on you. Like if you was trying to back me down, I could put both hands on you like this and hold your waist, or I could go like this and literally block you. You know what I mean? Like the game, there was no elite. There was no such thing as illegal defense when Michael Jordan's playing, bro. You could have four people standing on one side of the court. There's no such thing as illegal defense. So that's what I mean. The ancillary things, if you add them all in, they weren't as talented, but it was so much harder to score, bro. Like with no legal, and then you get the Pistons and the style of the game with Pat Riley and the Knicks. You know, it was just a different style. So it's hard to compare because if LeBron played back then with he could still be dominant because he's huge and he's big and he's strong. You know what I mean? And Mike could play now because you can't touch him. You know what I mean? So if you're scoring 45 while I can put two hands on you and you can play legal defense, you know, imagine what that is now. You know what I mean? So you could go back and forth with them all day. That's why I say it's apples and oranges, man. You know what I mean? They both changed the game from the standpoint of who they are and what they did on the court. So it's just apples and oranges, you know.
Quick question.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, because no, I heard Dana. You said that you know, neither one of them had like great teams. Can you kind of expunge on that as far as the Bulls? Like a lot of people be telling me like, you know, Jordan played with such great players, and I always say like, you know, he had Pippen and then he had Rodman, you know, for a time, but like LeBron didn't play with D Wade and Chris Bosh and Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, and it's like, I mean, LeBron didn't been able to build, you know, on his own maybe 3 or 4 different teams, whereas Mike kind of he didn't have that talent. So I kind of wanted, and I heard you said kind of said neither one of them had really great teams. So I kind of wanted you to.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the Bulls at those 6 championships. I would say every 2 championships they had 3 or 4 different role players, man. You know what I mean? So you had Bill Cartwright at center, man. You know what I mean? You had Bill Perdue at
Exactly.
center. You know what I mean? You had Stacey King in there. You had, you know, went from Craig Hodges, John Paxson, you know, Steve Kerr, you know, B.J. Armstrong. You had all these different players in there, and it was just him, Pip, and Horace Grant was a great addition. He was a role player. You know, he only got 8 shots a game. He got 10 rebounds a game, and it was kind of like an AI put together team where they just took a piece and say, okay, we got to get Mutombo to cover the middle because AI is a gambler. He's not a great defender. He gets posted up. Then you get Aaron McKee to run the show, not shoot a lot, hit the, you know. It was a team that was put together, and it was put together in an era where there wasn't a lot of free agent movement, man. You know what I mean? So that was a team that was tough. It was tough. They had played the Celtics, the Pistons. So even though Jordan didn't have like those, he had his first 5 years. Remember, he had to beat Bird, then he had to beat Isaiah, Then he had to beat Magic, even though they was a little older. You talking about these had 4 or 5 dudes on their team. You had Joe Dumars, you had Dennis Rodman, you had, you know, Bird, Mikhail Pat. So it's just different, man. It's just different, man. I just, you know, it's amazing thinking I played in that era, man, because it went into so many great players, man. I played against Bird, Magic. I played against Moses. You know what I mean? I was 80s all the way to 2003. I just missed LeBron by 1 year. I played one more year. That would have been crazy.
That's amazing. That's crazy.
Yeah, the Bulls really like that second three-peat. They had Rodman, of course, and Pippen, but it wasn't until they added Scott Burrell when stuff really started clicking.
I'm trying to tell him, man, Kukoc is a beast, man. He came across, he was like,
tear his ass up in the dock.
Man. Relentless, and they called him alcoholic.
Oh, man.
It's been a great show. I want to actually let y'all have final thoughts. Start with Trey.
Man, I just, you know, I had a conversation with Sly before we got on here, man. I just need to, I want, you know, it's, for me, it's a what have you done for me lately? You know what I'm saying? It's a make or miss league, like they say. And Jimmy making it right now, you know what I mean? The way he affected winning, like, you got to show him respect, man. Like, it's not, he's doing what people don't want to do. You know, they don't want to go somewhere by themselves and just take a team and make a team in their image and push them to their limit. You know what I'm saying? That's some Russell Westbrook. That's some different type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? And he did it. I mean, even if they lose every other game, like, he got to the finish line, he didn't cross it, or maybe he will, but I really respect that man. He really he's took leaps and bounds in my eyes. And you know, Sylvester was saying he's not even a top 5 shooting guard. And I'm like, I mean, how can he not be? You know, I mean, these young guys is nice, but I'm looking at Jimmy saying, you know, vote for Jimmy. He's definitely a top guard in this league.
Fly.
My opinion on Jimmy Butler don't come based off of what he's doing now. You feel me? That I try to explain to people like how, you know, my man Tracy down there, he often, like, in his opinion, the best player in the league changed year by year, and I don't agree with that. If that's like the year that Charles Barkley won MVP, he wasn't better than Michael Jordan. He may have been more valuable to his team, but we all knew who the best player in the league was. Since about 2010, we all knew who the best player in the league's been. Just because Kevin Durant and all of these other players get to that level don't mean, like, you have to sustain a certain amount of time to say that you're better than the next man. And as far as these finals go, man, Lakers in 5. It should have been 4. You know, AD got in foul trouble, and KCP and Danny Green play like bums, but Lakers in 5, man.
Dana.
I agree. I say Lakers in 5. But I also want to talk about what's coming up next year, because for the East and the West, you got 2 elephants in the room. Everybody's talking about Milwaukee and the Celtics for next year, Miami coming back, whatever. But you got Kyrie and KD coming back in 2 months, bro. You know, is Milwaukee still going to be the best team at the end of next year? And then in the West, you got Golden State coming back. Okay, so now you got Denver, Clippers, Lakers, Golden State with Wiggins and Clay and Steph. I mean, I'm looking forward to next year, man. I'm looking forward to just – and then again, like I said, if LeBron AD win next year, and then they take the path of, oh, we had to beat the Clippers, then we beat Golden State, then we beat Denver. Okay, now you're talking about some ill shit, bro. You know what I mean? Like, that's where legacies are made. You know what I mean? Right. That's where Kawhi wins if Kawhi does that same path and wins his 3rd ring on 13, that, you know, he takes himself up a level in the legacy talk. So I'm looking forward to next year. I think it's 4-1. I think the series is over, so I'm not really excited about it. But next year, Steph got a lot to prove next year. KD and Kyrie got a lot to prove next year. I'm looking forward to that, B.
Right. Like to thank all you fellas. So Sly, I'm gonna do you a favor. See the chemistry with the guys, right? Dana, You got a suggestion of what they should name their podcast?
What should they name their podcast?
So I had an idea because I'm dark skinned and he light skinned. Y'all all remember House Party. So instead of like Kid and Play, it's gonna be
Pick and roll
sports talk with Sly and Tra. There you go.
Sports talk. Okay.
That sounds good.
I'm gonna need a little time. I'm gonna have to text you. I'm gonna come up with something real good, man. Cause I'm gonna come on that show. I'm gonna come up with something real good, man.
All right. Can we get you back on the show, Dana?
Absolutely, anytime, man. I'm always on. Then I'm getting ready to do the DB3. I'm just taping stuff now. I'm doing a documentary and I'm taping the DB3 podcast. So we'll definitely get you on, man. Season's starting back up in December, man. We got a couple of months, so I'm gonna get like 10 or 12 recorded in the bag, and then we'll do some lives weekly. So I'll definitely chop it up with y'all on the lives, man.
Not a problem. Not a problem. We appreciate you being here, fellas. I'm glad you guys came on. You listening to the Black Ear Podcast bonus edition. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, and see you next week.
Peace, Gordy.